Hello, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon for Webinar Wednesday. Today, we have Rhia Stark, Director of Marketing, to discuss TLC Engaged Spaces. TLC Engaged Spaces is an event, equipment, and room booking platform that can directly integrate with TLC Go, our mobile app. But before we start, I'll mention a few housekeeping items. First, we are recording. So if you want to share this with your colleagues or watch it again, the recording will be available on our website starting tomorrow. But since you're joining us live, you have the opportunity to ask questions. So please feel free to use the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation, and we will get to your questions towards the end. All right, so good to have you all here. And Rhia, thank you for joining us for Webinar Wednesday.
Yeah, thank you, Ash. It's good to be on this side of the presentation for Webinar Wednesday. I'm excited to share with everybody about TLC Engaged Spaces. So like Ash mentioned, this is our room bookings. So if you have any open rooms in your library that you want to be able to offer to your community to reserve, we're also going to talk about sort of unique spaces, very similar to rooms, but creating some of those reservable spaces in your library that don't necessarily fit the traditional room model. And then also talk about events management for scheduling, publishing, and managing in-person and online events, as well as equipment. So things that go alongside both rooms and along with events, or as standalone items that you want to be able to make reservable for your community. So we're going to talk about all of those today. And before we jump into that, a little bit about myself. I am Director of Marketing at TLC, but before that, I have walked several miles in your shoes as well. So I am a former events, program, and storytime librarian. I've set up a number of makerspace programs. One of my favorite things at the library was creating programs for our community. So I have lived experience that I can share as I talk about sort of a passion of mine. And then at TLC, I've also helped a number of librarians launch their own makerspace programs through TLC Smart Tech in more of a consultant role. So I've been able to travel around the country and see what a lot of libraries are doing and see their unique spaces, some of the programs that they're running in general. So I can share some tips that I've learned along the way. And I'm also just a big fan of community engagement and outreach. I firmly believe that the library is the third space in a community, and that you have the power to bring a lot of people together and create a really enriching space for your community, both inside the library and outside, bringing the programming to them. So hopefully I can share a little bit of my knowledge along the way. From those perspectives. And I'm here today not as the product expert, but more as the product enthusiast, because this really touches on something near and dear to what I appreciate. And so some of the benefits of TLC Engaged Spaces for both you as library staff, but also for you as your community. So for staff, it gives you the ability to create or to save time when you're creating your events, your rooms, your equipment. It's very fast and easy to set up. It's also very quick to publish your events. So when I worked at the library, we had a long process, usually months and months in advance. You had to have your programs determined, and then that would go through a review committee and then over to the marketing team, and then that would get published out in the newsletter. And while many libraries may still have a similar process or may want to go through a similar approval process in general, this shortens that distance from idea for a program to getting it up on the website and making that available for your community. And then you can also review reservations. So if you allow folks to book in advance, you have plenty of time to go in and see what people are reserving. You can look at it and approve or deny if you want. So that is an optional setting you can set up in the system per event or at the library level. And as I mentioned, there is that manager approval process. So even if you are creating programs and you're setting those up, you can still have that go to your events team, your managers, your marketing team, whoever that is that needs to take a look at it before it gets published live. It also has built-in statistics and data that you can take a look at after every event. You can see how many people have attended, all right in one platform. And it makes it really easy to market your events and your services to your community. So we're going to take a look at all of that today. For your community, it makes it a self-service option. So again, back when I worked at the library, when we were booking things like study rooms, a lot of the times they had to come up to the desk and talk to somebody to see if there was a room available. And then we'd pull up our shared Google Calendar or, whatever the equivalent was at the time, see if the room was available, and then book them into that space that day. So this allows it to be a public web platform. So your patrons, your community can take a look from their mobile devices. They can look online at home several days or weeks in advance, whatever you set it up to be, and book different services, spaces for them. So without ever stepping foot in the library, they're already engaging with your library, your services, and what you have to offer. And when they're in that platform, it is very easy to search and filter and find what they're looking for. It can be linked to their account, so they can take a look at all of the things they've booked from that study room to the program that they've signed up for. And there is a QR check-in, which allows you, we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's a really seamless way to check in folks for the event. So they don't have to print an email. They don't have to state their name and mark them off a list. And it does integrate with TLC Go, our mobile app, which I'll show at the end. And if you offer any sort of paid services, sometimes people will do paid events. It does integrate with Stripe. Or you can also accept cash or check or anything else as well at the point of service. So all of that is available. This is probably my most text-heavy slide, so thanks for bearing with me. And let's jump in and take a look at some pictures. So first, what is a room? This is not a trick question. This is more of a baseline to set up what is bookable within your library space. So think of your traditional room, so 4 walls and a door. Any of those that are reservable for your community, you can upload as a room in the platform. So this might look like your meeting rooms, your conference rooms, your study rooms. If you have any sort of a lecture hall or theater space, all of those are considered rooms. Also, if you do any sort of makerspace programs and you want your whole makerspace to be reservable, you can set that up as a room. Libraries will do like recording booths, or they might have like a podcast station or so a music area. So all of those rooms can be set up as well. In addition to things like special collections. So at my local library, we have a genealogy collection that is hidden to the public, but is accessible. But it requires the genealogy librarian to be on staff to be able to grab some of those resources. And there's a nice room where you can look at those in kind of a clean space. There's white gloves. So if I want to book time to review some of those resources, I could set that up as a room in TLC engaged spaces. The other more outside the box kind of concepts that you can also do in TLC engaged spaces is what we're calling a space. And this goes beyond that traditional 4 walls and a door room. So anything in your library that you want to be reservable, any physical area within your library system can be set up as a space. And so this could be some of those flexible tables that you have. Maybe you have a board game group that comes by every week and you move the tables around to accommodate that. That's a space. I kind of joke about the coveted comfy chair, that every patron wants to sit in, maybe the one that's by the fireplace or that has the best armrests. You could set that up as a space if you want to make that bookable, to kind of share so that other folks have an opportunity to get the best seat in the house. You can even do things like the story time rug, where maybe it's booked during story time, but you want to be able to offer that to your community, just to have some rug time, some mommy and me play time. So that's an option. And then a little outside the box or outside the library even, you can also set up book a librarian programs as spaces. Also as equipment, which I'll talk about in a moment, but this could be if you have dedicated open office hours, maybe you have a staffed librarian at a specific desk or a space, and folks just want to be able to sign up with whoever's available, you can set that up as a reservable, bookable space. And same with any sort of local partnership. So if you do pub trivia every Tuesday at the local watering hole, you can set that up as a space. I know some libraries will work with outside organizations where they have access to things like theater halls or event spaces that are owned by the other organization, but the library has access to, or card members can show up and reserve that space, showing that they are a member of the library. So all of that can be considered a space in TLC engaged spaces. So let me jump over to the platform and show you how to set that up and what that looks like. So this is the staff side of TLC engaged spaces. Everything that you need to manage is going to be over here along this left-hand side. Right now I'm going to talk about room management. And within there, I'm already in conference room A. Let me go back a page. You can see these are all of the rooms and or spaces that I have set up that people are able to book. And I'm going to take a look at conference room A. And within this main space, I have a lot of information I can add about that room itself. I can add availability and hours. So the room name is entirely customizable. We have the very generic conference room A. You could call this whatever you've named it, you know, Thompson River or upstairs children's area, you know, whatever makes sense for you in your library and your community. And you can also set up where that is. So I have this at the main library. I could set up different branches for that space to be in. I could also set up different floors within a library. Say you've got 8 different floors and you want to make sure folks know this is the third story conference room, not the 4th story. You can also set that up here as well. Any sort of room description I want to add, any sort of booking notice. So if this needs to be booked 7 days in advance, I can add that information here. And then it gets really flexible. So there are a number of different options that you can control per area. And this is where you can have more of that flexibility with a room versus a space. Or if you want to set this up so it's only visible to staff and not the public. So for example, that storytime area, maybe you want that space to always be booked for staff and they can come in, take a look, book that area, whoever's giving story time that week or that day, but not make it available to the public because you don't really want it to be a bookable space. You just want people to come in and play. You can do that here as well. So let me zoom in just a little bit. On these options, whoever's setting it up, you can add that email in. You can choose if there's different room parents that go along with this, and I'll talk about that when we get to some of the other items. That's staff visibility versus public visibility. And also if you allow guest bookings, so they don't have to have a library card necessarily. They can just sign up if they're a member in the community. They can come by and make that available. You can also add terms and conditions if that's set up in your workspace. That might be something like in the makerspace, you want to make sure that they've read all of the safety warnings, they've gone through that procedure. If you have any sort of certification, you can also ask that as a question for the rooms as well. And whether or not you want to see it in advance, so to require approval. Back when I worked in the library, sometimes we wanted to make sure everything was approved. So there was that staff intervention. We wanted to review every single event or every single booking before moving on to the next. And that would be maybe we needed to go in afterwards and clean up. We wanted 5 minutes just to reset the room or the space, or we wanted to make sure it was blocked within so much time before an upcoming event. So we wanted to see all of that. But you can have it go through where as soon as your patrons book the space, it's available to them or not, whichever one you prefer. And if you do need that buffer time between spaces, or excuse me, between bookings, you can set that up too. So if you know that that meeting room takes a lot of time between person A and person B, you can add on 15 minutes and it is automatic. So if someone comes in and books it from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and then there's 15-minute buffer, the next person can't book till 2:15 and starting from there and so on and so forth. And you can also set the increments. So when I jump in and show you on the patron side, you'll see that there's a couple different options. You can book There's some built-in ones, so 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. You can also set custom ones too. So if you have specific increments, like I have one 3D printer that's set up for 4 hours because we know it takes a long time to print something. So we want to increase that availability. And whether or not you charge, you can also show that. And then over here on the right, you can also set up the specific hours that your room is available. And this can match your open hours or it doesn't have to. So maybe you want to close your makerspace an hour before your library closes. You can set that availability here. And you can also change specific days of the week if you want. So maybe you do so many things on Saturday that you don't want anything bookable, or vice versa. Maybe everyone's in on Saturday fighting for the same space. You can make just Saturday if you wanted to. So really, it is totally flexible for what you need in your area. And then if I scroll down a little bit further, you can set an image, which I'll show you on the patron side, and then you can ask any sort of questions related to that room. So if I want to book the conference space, will you require any help with AV equipment? Yes or no? Also, will they need any additional supplies? So they can write in a short answer, or you can do multiple choice. These are totally customizable, so it can be whatever makes sense for you. If you're running a makerspace, this might be, have you completed the certification course, or are you going to need any specific filament in the area? So any of those questions you can set up in the platform. Now, as a patron, if I come into the system, this is our patron-facing side for TLC Engaged Spaces, and you can link this out from your website. It's a separate portal, but you can link to it from your library website or from the catalog up at the top, those 5 links you can add. And this has this nice scrolling banner of the upcoming events that are available, so a nice marketing space. I'm a little bit zoomed in. Let me zoom back out. So a little carousel there. You can pause it. You can click through, see what's coming up. If you scroll down, this is also where patrons can search either by specific library, if I only want to see things at the main library branch, or if I only want to see specific categories. I'm only interested in arts and crafts. I only want to do story time. I only want to see the STEAM or STEM programs. So you can filter by different categories, and these are all set up by you as the library when you create those. I can filter by different calendar dates. So I want to see what's coming up tomorrow, June 12th. Looks like there's a knitting event happening, which is great. And then I can just clear that filter and bring it back to the entire running list of events. Down here, these are those categories as well. So I can also filter here if I want to, and also see what's coming up in more of a list type of view. So all of these knitting clubs and astronomy clubs snuck in there. And also filter by location. So there's a couple different ways to get access to these events. That's all available on one page for really easy navigation, no matter how your patrons like to search. So those are, this is the public side for that. If I'm looking for room bookings specifically, let me click over to rooms. And within here, I can see I've got conference room A, B, I've got the makerspace, I've got study rooms, and there's this really nice green-red visibility to see what's booked and what isn't. And you can also see the different increments. So conference room A can be booked by the hour, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. Conference room B can be booked by the half hour. So we've got a couple of spaces in between there. And when I show you equipment, you can also book, shorter or longer depending. And I can see over here from 8 to 9, the conference room is booked. Really nice visual indicator. So maybe I want to set my event up from 5 to 6. I am already logged into the system, but I can come in here, I could take a look. It pre-fills out the 5 and the 6 time because that's what I clicked. There's the different layout options that you can set per space. If there is a cost, or if you're showing the cost, you can add that here. And all of those questions, if I'm going to require any AV equipment, no. Do I need additional supplies? I don't have to fill that out. And I can just add that booking. If I'm not logged in, it will also prompt me at that point if you require them to be logged in. So I'm going to get that confirmation email. It lets me know I have conference room A from 5 to 6. It's really that simple. I don't have to talk to any staff if I don't want to. I can just book out that space. And then it drops me back on my room bookings page so I can see I've got conference room A at the main library. It's pending, so it hasn't been confirmed until that staff member approves it. Because that's how it's set up. It doesn't, if it was automatically approved, this would show confirmed. All right, now if we go back to that last page to take a look at those other rooms, let's go back to room bookings. And now if I scroll down to conference room A, I can see that from 5 to 6, it's been booked out. That's the time that I was in there. And then there's some setup that we know it takes a long time to set up that space and take it down. So that has automatically been added on either side of my reservation. So nobody coming in after can book right from 4 to 5 and push me out right at the 5 o'clock. I can get in early if I need to. All right, that is the concept of rooms. Let me jump back over to my slideshow and talk about events. So once you've set up your rooms and your spaces, you can now start linking events to those rooms and spaces. Or you can set up events that don't necessarily require the rooms. So going back to, pub trivia every Tuesday, if you don't necessarily have that bookable space or you don't want folks to see and to book that local watering hole, you can set it up as an event that doesn't have the associated room booking. So there's some flexibility there. But if you do have regular events like that story time or those clubs that you know are always going to be in the same space, you can set those up as events and have them book those rooms automatically. So every Tuesday, 11 a.m., the Storytime rug is reserved for Storytime. If you have regular clubs that always meet in the same spot or the same room, you can have those set up and booked for that group. So you can do both regular events and set it up to recur on a regular basis. You can also do one-time ticketed events. So maybe the Birds of Prey exhibit is coming around and you want to make sure folks register for that because it's very limited opportunities or limited supplies, or maybe you're charging for the event, so you want to make sure you know who's coming to it. You can set those up as tickets. Or like the chess masters, you want to make sure you know who's coming to that event. You can also set this up as a series. So if summer reading is coming up, Color Your World could be the series, and then you can have specific events within that, the red group, the orange group, the yellow group, as your events within a larger series. So events and programs are going to work very similar to what you're used to. Whatever events you're already doing, you can now add them to the system. So if I jump back over here, this is the patron-facing side for our Knitwits Knitting and Trivia Club. So when I click into events, I kind of gave you a preview earlier. When you click in, there's some nice information at the top. This particular one is for the June 12th event tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the main library. It tells me that it's an all ages event and the cost is free. You can also set up your events to have age limiting. So if you have like a teen and tween crafting club, you can set up in the system for the event to only be for 11 to 17-year-olds. And it'll ask that at registration for them to confirm their age. If there is a cost, it would mention that here, and there is also that Stripe integration if you're doing that. A nice little blurb about the event, and then as you scroll down, more about the description of what this event is, when this particular one takes place, where it's taking place with links out to Google Maps. Any sort of notes about the event, don't forget to bring your coffee mug. We'll be serving up some delicious treats, event sponsors. And then because I'm logged in, it's going to automatically pull in some of that information. So I'm logged in as this account, that's my library card, and it knows that I am Rhia Stark. So it has filtered that information in. Maybe I'm booking for my friend. I can edit this if I need to, or maybe I want to bring my good friend Ash to the event. I can add her. It defaults to your last name, assuming you're bringing the whole family. It makes it easier just to type first name, but I'm going to change that and add my person. So I've got 2 people confirmed, and then I can add up to 3 for this particular one based on settings. and we are going to book. I get that confirmation right away that I'm part of that event. And it keeps me on that same page so I can continue to look down and see, oh, wow, Knitting Club actually meets every single week. So maybe I want to stop by and attend a few more. I can click through and look at those. I can also get directions for my map and find similarly named events. So this is a really great way to keep your community engaged further. So if there were other sort of knitting or crafting events, those would appear here as well. Maybe we've got the Tuesday Knitter Club and then the Saturday Knitter Club. So those would appear. Or because you're interested in clubs, maybe you're also interested in some of these other clubs like Astronomy Club or Spanish Book Club. So a couple of options that populate in there as well. So to set up an event, I'm going to go back into this staff side. And instead of room management, we're going to jump over to event management up here at the top to add an event. And I can either create a new one, load a saved one, delete one, or scroll down. This is already set to add an event here. So I can also see any upcoming events at the main library. So I can click over here and see, well, I just want to make something similar to this astronomy club. So I don't really want to start from scratch. I really just want to copy the astronomy club. So I can jump in here as well, look at the astronomy club, get some information to view the event, edit the event, or even clone the event. And I'm not going to show too much of this as well, but this is also a place to grab some links to send out some emails and add to calendars. So if you're doing any sort of marketing, you've got some really nice tools up at the top to showcase your event. But I want to take a look at this one. I want to edit the astronomy event. I can update this. Maybe I can add the different categories if I want to, any sort of requirements. So bring a jacket if it's chilly, meet in the main lobby. Maybe I want to change that to meet outside. Oops. So I can just really quickly edit this. And then once I save it, it's live on the site. So it makes it a lot faster to go through some of those event edits. I can also set the date, the time, the duration, adds that sponsorship information. And this is going to look very similar, so I'm not going to go through everything, but some things to point out within this space is this is where you can add age restrictions. If you want that to be a teen event, you can make it specific 11 to 17. Whether or not it's a private event, you can add that here as well. So sometimes like board meetings or HOA meetings might have that private space, but you want to be able to showcase it and still make it available. You can upload your images, you can change all of this event and then update it. And within a couple of moments, it is live on the website with the new instructions to now meet near the statue instead of near the park. And I can also see that this event has 12 events in the series. So again, this is kind of going back to if you're doing a summer series, you can set that up as one series and go through and click through all of those different 12 events to see what else is happening during that time. So right now I've got the Astronomy Club meeting from July 18th to July 19th. So you can set up your dates for that. All right, jumping back over here to our presentation. Couple good things to know that I maybe didn't mention. It also integrates with TLC Go for event calendars and registration. So if they have the mobile app, they can see those calendars. They can also register directly from their phone. There is that QR code. So if you do a ticketed event, you're certainly more than welcome to take the staff side, maybe out on a tablet and take a look at who's registered for the event and look as you're scrolling through. You can print it out and check them off a list. Or they can have a QR code directly from their phone from the TLC Go mobile app that's easily scannable. So it's a lot easier once they're checking in for the event. As the librarian, you can just scan that, wave them on through. Guest registration versus card holder, you can set that up. You can also do wait lists. So we have a limited supply. There's only 10 cameras for our photography event. So we only have 10 spots available. But if you're number 11, you can join the wait list. And if this is automatic, so if somebody falls off or cancels their own registration, number 11 moves up that list and we'll get that confirmation that they are now accepted into that spot. Or as the event organizer, if you need to cancel the event for any reason, you can send out a cancellation notice and it will automatically let folks know that the event's been canceled. You can add a custom message, Sarah came down with the flu, we're rescheduling, but it's not up yet. Or, the weather is raining, so we're not doing that event after all. So you can send those out and it will go to everyone who's registered. You don't need to run a report. You don't need to print a list. You can just type your message, click send. And we had mentioned that you can optionally have those approvals before they get published if you want to put that through the process. All right, the last thing to mention is the equipment. So this is another area of the platform that you can set up, and you can link it to rooms, you can link it to events, or it can be standalone. So for example, maybe you do not want your entire makerspace to be a bookable space, but you do want your 3D printers to be bookable. So you can set up every single 3D printer and make that a bookable equipment. So someone can come in and book the Lowell spot for 4 hours for their printable. You can also link equipment to a room. So for example, maybe you have your makerspace is bookable for different events or programs you're running, but your equipment is also bookable. And in that case, if you have all of your 3D printers have been booked for the day, it will make it so the event is not bookable. Uh, so there's some nice linking that happens there. So equipment can be anything from 3D printers, sewing machines, even board games. So board games may not be linked to a specific room, but again, you have your board game group that comes in every Tuesday, or you want to make sure that, Monopoly is available. You can set that up as something that they can request. This could also be equipment that's linked to a room. So like a VHS converter, or if they do need equipment like a projector, a monitor, or a lavalier mic for the lecture hall, they can request that in addition to booking that space, or if it stays in-house. And you just want to be able to give them that VHS converter, they can go sit in a study carousel somewhere, they can set that up. So it's completely flexible for what you need at your library space with some nice automation to link it all together. So if I jump over here to some equipment, this is a very similar layout, but now we're taking a look at all of the equipment that's been set up. So again, I mentioned you can do the Book a Librarian as a space. You can also set it up as equipment to book specific time. If you're doing exam proxies, or if you have Chromebooks, or that 3D printer, or the projector, and all of these have those different increments of time. So the projector, we only want to lend out for an hour at a time. The 3D printer we can do for 4 hours at a given time. And you can set it up so that they can book consecutive time as well. So maybe my print is an 8-hour long print. I can book both slots, or you can limit it to just one. And something I'd like to note here, because we do mention the Chromebooks, is that this is really intended for in-house use equipment. If you're doing any sort of checkout of Chromebooks or hotspots or anything like that that's longer than a day, we do recommend putting that more in the ILS and checking it out as a library card, just through your regular processes. And if you're a TLC customer, reach out and ask us how to set that up if you need any help. But if you're lending out Chromebooks, maybe to students throughout the day, or you want to make those available, but they don't leave the library, that would be your equipment that you can set up here. So back on the staff side of the platform. So everything happens over here. I can go take a look at my equipment management. And you can see in here, that's where some of those are set up. The exam proxy, the 3D printer, that's my favorite example. So very similar to how you set up a room, how you set up an event, it's going to look very similar. So you can give it a name, you can give it a location, a description, and you can also change the availability. Now, again, this can extend beyond your library hours. So if you offer, maybe you do overnight 3D printing for your folks, you can set that up to be booked. Maybe they have to come in by a specific time before the library closes, and then it's booked through the night overnight, either for the public or for staff. Or you can set it up so it has to be within library hours and maybe within an hour of close. Whatever your policy is, you can update that over here. And you can change the different groupings. So if I'm looking for makerspace, I'm looking for conference room, or if I'm looking for those standalone items for both patrons or for staff, there's different options for each. You can put it in different categories and easily edit it. So I see that my 3D printer set up as a Chromebook. I can quickly switch that to 3D printer, and as soon as I hit save, it'll change on the site. And some of those booking limits. So you can only book once per day, twice per day, or there's no limit. You can book it as much as you want. And my question, have you completed our 3D printing certification or will you need staff assistance? Option 1, I'm certified through the library, or option 2, I will require staff assistance. Nice little drop down. Or for the material type, do you know if you're using PLA filament? Are you using TPU, ABS, any other options? You can add that here. So again, these questions are completely customizable to make them make sense for your library. All right, jumping back in here, I did mention a few times that this integrates seamlessly with our TLC Go mobile app. So you can see on the screen within the app, I've got our carousel of new books, and right below that, I've got a carousel of events. So right in the same place that you're browsing for material, you can take a look and see all of the events. You can click in, you can book it from the mobile app. And then when you swipe right, this is where you see all your checkouts, your holds, your finds, and you can also see everything that you've booked, from the different events that you're participating in, to rooms that you have, to any equipment. So you can take a look at that all in one place. You do not need to have the mobile app to experience TLC Go or TLC Engaged Spaces. They work really well together, but they are also both standalone. All right, I think that's everything I have to share. Oh, sorry, compatibility is that we are offering this for TLC customers. This is library.solution, library.solution for schools, and Carl Solution. If you do not have one of those ILSs, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk to you. But if you have one of those, if you're a current TLC customer, this is available to you today as an add-on. So please reach out if you're interested. All right, that's what I have. Ash, I will turn it back over to you to launch a poll.
All right, thank you so much, Rhia. I'm just going to launch a quick poll. If you'd like to learn more information, just let us know and we can get someone to chat with you. Just click yes or no. And while this is open, we do have some questions that have come in through our Q&A and our chat. The first is this available without TLC Go? Rhia just answered that. Yes, it is available without TLC Go. The next question is, and there may be, Rhia, you may have already touched on some of these, but so the question is, for events, can you cap the number of attendees?
Yes, you can. So if I jump into one of our events over here. So in this area where there's a lot of different features, you can do max bookings, which is how many people you want available for that event. And that also will lead into that wait list. So anyone over that, you can determine if you want them to be waitlisted or not right through here.
Awesome, thank you. The next part of this question is, can you broadcast a message to attendees at any time?
Ooh, that is a great question. I will mention I am the product enthusiast, not the expert. So I will say I know you can send anything out for cancellations. I don't know if you can do it at any time, but I will check with our team and we'll supply that answer in the follow-up resources.
When people register, can an email be sent to them automatically, providing the details for the event?
Yes, that happens automatically.
And you can also customize those emails as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to block out certain times or days for the rooms or spaces?
Yes, there is a way to do that. So when I'm looking at events, let me go over here to pending approval. Oops, nope, I'm in the wrong spot. Let me talk through it and then I'll see if I can find it and show it. But there is a way to do block out in bulk or individually. So if you wanted to block out, 2 weeks because we're remodeling or, a pipe burst or something and we want to cancel that space, you can do that very easily. Just block, whatever that time is, and it will automatically remove that time. So it'll show red on the calendar for all of those dates. You don't have to go in individually every single day and close out Monday, close out Tuesday. You can just do a time range.
If we're part of a consortia, can we book just for our library and not affect the other libraries?
Um, Yes, you can set it up through different locations. So when you're in room management, you can have all of these set up to specific locations. Now, I believe you will still see the other locations, but you can have your specific library set up here. So your conference rooms, your maker spaces, and control only those specific events. And you can also group permissions. So if main library lets conference rooms have these specific settings, but the Southern Library branch has these other options, you can create like permission groups and clone those specific groups to make it easier when you're setting up rooms.
The other side to that is that each individual staff member that you assign to or that you create a login for and assign to can be limited by location so that when they log in, they only have the ability to access their own locations. If you have a floating librarian and they're at 4 locations, you can set those permissions. The same with if you're looking to only show events that are taking place at your specific library within a consortia, you can create an embeddable widget that'll allow you to only show those events happening at your library. Next question, can you assign event types or categories that can be flagged to limit a search of the event? Yes, you can.
Yes.
Another question here, for events, waitlists, can you cap waitlists as well?
I believe so, but let me confirm for sure and follow up in the resources.
The next question is, how do specific reservations work in LS2 like games?
So if I'm understanding correctly, if you wanted to book games, is that what I heard?
Yeah, as an example.
Okay, so
I'm assuming a game would be a cataloged item in LS2.
Okay, so if you have these set up in the catalog as something that can be circulated or available, that's going to be separate from the equipment that you manage within TLC engaged spaces. So we intend this more for your in-house checkouts, but if you did want to set up a couple of games within the system, you could create them as equipment. So you might have a games category that has a specific set of rules, and within those categories you can add things like Monopoly or the D&D books or chess, and you can have all of those different games set up as different equipment. And then those would be searchable through that equipment booking platform. I didn't show this as well, but you can also sort by category. So if I limit it to 3D printers, oh, I didn't click save. Let me go to Chromebooks and find that little spot. So you can limit by those board games, for instance. And once I'm in here, if I want to select this, find the time that you want to have that available, you can also look at the details and see if this is even the right thing that you want to book, or click book equipment and go through that process, whichever days you want, and add booking. Um, if you yeah, so if you have it set up in the catalog, that would be something a little bit different than this. But yeah, that's what I'll share about that, and I'll get some more information if I'm not understanding that question correctly. Please add that. Please add a follow-up or post about it.
And we have one more question. Is there keyword search that targets the content of an event?
Yeah, so let's go back to our events. So within this space, you can obviously browse, but if you're looking to search up at the top, I just typed knit and all of the knit is coming back up. Now, again, I'm not sure if it's searching every item on the record. If I typed craft, I'm not sure if that would come up necessarily without the category, but there is those search queries, and then you can do additional filtering by specific library or branch, specific categories, or even age groups. So, oh, I only want knitting for kids. You can add that as a category or a filterable item or sort by date.
I believe there actually was one more question in the chat that I apologize, I failed to put. Does equipment booking allow us to upload a PDF or links in the description?
Ooh, links, yes. I'm not sure about PDFs. You said for the rooms,
For equipment.
for equipment. All right, let's jump into that little spot. So you can add, sorry for the scroll, under the equipment description, you would add it there. It would be in line with all of the rest of the description text, or if there's any kind of booking notice, but I don't believe you can add a PDF, but I'll confirm that and follow up. But speaking of PDFs, can I take a quick little detour for just a moment using that question as a pivot point?
You may.
In your events, let me go back a page. As either a patron or as staff, I skipped over this earlier, but there is this create brochure option, and that will create PDFs for you. I'm sure that's not the basis of the question you're asking. I'm assuming that's more for liability, things like that, to add a PDF resource. But you can create a brochure within this space. You can add number of dates. So if you want to create your quarterly newsletter, your monthly newsletter, you can set your dates, you can set your categories, and click create. And it produces a really nice, visually appealing PDF that's available for you. I think it just went to my downloads folder. Yep. And if you have images, it will add it into there as well. But so like my knitting club has an image, my for July 24th, you scroll through, it adds that nice little calendar view. So you can create this to engage your community with some marketable materials, or they can create their own. So I want to go to baby story time. I want all of the baby story times between now and forever. Please print that PDF. I can put it on my fridge. So a nice marketable way. But I'll confirm the other PDF question.
Another question came in about APIs. Is there an event API that can also be used to integrate with other software? There are APIs available for you to use with from the developer of TLC Engaged Spaces, Solus, that does allow you to use endpoints to integrate in several ways. The easiest way that I can tell you that I've seen some libraries do is if you go to a page back in the staff side, and you go to embed widgets at the very bottom of the page, and that'll give you a host of different ways to add scripts to your site, say a website, and that'll allow you to embed those events. But you can limit right here by category. That way you can have just those events at your specific location. You can use a room finder. You can use a room finder widget, again, limited to certain spaces. And those can all be utilized in on websites, as far as I understand. But we will ask for a bit more follow-up, see if we have a little bit better language to use for you. in
Yeah, and I'll add on to that as well
yeah.
that there is a really nice they have TV mode when you're displaying availability. So if you have a monitor in your library space that maybe rotates with some imagery, advertising services, or if you just have one showing availability for rooms, you can set that up to be in TV mode so that anyone coming by can see if that room is available dynamically.
That is all of the questions that we have for today. So I want to thank you so much, Rhia, for joining us, and to everybody who's engaged with us today. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out if you'd like a more detailed demo on TLC Engage Spaces or TLC Go. Please feel free to let us know. You can find more events and future events at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. And tomorrow, this webinar will be posted to our website so that you can review it and share it if you wish. Thank you all again, and have a wonderful day.